Welcome to the Circle of Peace. My name is Tisha, aka Minister Letitia Watson. Thank you for stepping in. Tonight's show, I decided to call it, to title it, No Weapon Formed Against Me Will Prosper. And once you've heard my next guest testimony, you will understand why. I can't take all of the credit for this particular guest. She was actually a referral from Miss Ebony from the Layers Effect and Chat and Chew. So I don't want to hold you guys because we want to get right in. Her testimony is awesome. We've talked on the phone last night for hours. You'll feel her spirit through the phone, through the TV, however you're watching, you'll feel it. So without further ado, please welcome to the Circle of Peace, Kenyona Nash.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome. So again, I just want to thank you for even stepping out there to share your testimony, because we know it's oftentimes it's not easy to do so. So thank you for being willing. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So as we do with every show, we do the origin story. So if you can, and I would have to say for you to not get too far into it because that's part of your testimony, but can you just very general, just give a brief generalization or feedback from your childhood? Tell your story.
So my childhood was a little different than most. I experienced abuse at a very early age. And those things that I had to remain silent about for many, many years that caused many triggers as an adult, and affected my, friendships, relationships, even, relationship with my mom, due to the events that I experienced. So over time, I needed to just work on
Mm-hmm.
healing from those things and not falling victim to
Yeah.
those events. And it was a process,
Mm-hmm.
but I must say that the process was very well worth it. And I'm just excited about this new journey that I'm on now.
Yeah. So I want to go back, and we discussed last night, or actually I saw a clip that you did for someone else, and in that particular clip you talked about being sexually molested um at as a child. Exactly how old were you when you?
Um, I was 6 years old.
Okay.
I was 6 years old, so very, very, very young. Although I knew it wasn't right because I was told that I couldn't tell anyone. So I knew right then that this was not supposed to happen. As a young child, you're taught early on, that your body is sacred, it's your temple, and no one should violate it. So I knew that I was violated, and I immediately wanted to tell someone about that, but I was muted. And it was very painful. Just the emotional scars, but I also have physical scars from the abuse. That's, a constant reminder, even today, 36 years later, I still have the physical effects. Prayerfully, I have overcome the emotional effects.
Mm-hmm.
Although it does hurt, like if I flash back on it, because it is a very vivid picture in my mind
Right.
that I remember what I was wearing. I remember what um where I was. I remember just the small details, the sun was shining, the weather outside. So it's something that I will never forget. But I'm no longer held captive.
Okay.
to that.
Okay. Um, when we talked last night, we discussed that at the time of the abuse, like things were very chaotic in your life because of things that your mother had experienced, the things that she was going through. Um, and you said one thing that actually kind of like stuck out to me, that part of the reason why you felt like, hey, not only were you told not to say anything, but at that particular time, there was like an issue with your housing. It was very unstable. So at this
Right.
particular place, you were being provided shelter, but at 6 years old, you felt the responsibility of having to keep a roof over you and your mother's head. So that was another reason why you felt like, I can't say anything because if I speak, we're probably going to be kicked out. Can you please talk about the struggles that your mother went through, and because of those struggles, what you in turn had to carry as a 6 year old?
Well, my mom, I will say that she did the best that she could considering her circumstances. And this is no way, shape, or form to bash my mom. It's more so just to bring light to the situations that we experienced together, because not only did I experience trauma, my mother experienced trauma early on in her childhood, losing her mother at a very early age, being the oldest of four siblings, and not having a mother figure in the household, and also, in a sense, not being able to experience the outside world. She was, the granddaughter of a well-known bishop in the area, so you had to, think certain things were against the rules, of the church, and they were frowned upon. So she did, venture out, and just wanted to see what was going on in the world. And she met my father, who was an older man. And she became pregnant with me at 16 years old. It was something that she could not tell anyone because it was against the rules. It was considered an embarrassment to the family. um and so, when I was born prematurely because she didn't receive any prenatal care, because again, I was a secret. And I can imagine that life was hard for her, trying to portray a perfect image and not even knowing who she was. And during those times, my mom started to struggle with addiction. And in her addiction, I was along with her during that period where we were, were homeless for periods of time. Like I was telling you on yesterday, and just having to basically do what we can to have a roof over our heads. And some of those circumstances actually put her in situations where she experienced abuse, physical and sexual abuse, from her male suitors. And as a young child, I witnessed those things. And although you would think, man, you're so young, you would not remember that. But you know you do, you really do. And you learn to understand that this isn't healthy. And most of the time, I had to just fend for myself. And just typical, at 8, 9 years old, most girls, their moms getting up with them in the morning, getting them ready for school, doing their hair and packing lunches. I'm doing that for myself. And even if I had a lunch 2-pack. So we both experienced those things together. Um, and it was hard. It was hard because it's almost like this isn't the way that life should be. Like I know it has to be something better. And that's like I was telling you last night, that's why I do have, empathy for my mom and those trials that she had. I can't hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Girl, look, when you're live, it's
Those weapons are
live.
trying to come.
Man, all right. That's okay. We're back. So
Yes.
so when we talk about as adults and we're able to look back at the things that our parents experienced, sometimes it sounds cliche when we hear, well, they did the best that they could. But when you look at it, and especially in your case, like understanding your mom's past, where she came from, what she dealt with, her struggles, she literally did the best that she could, and she gave you all that she had to give during that time. So I don't want to go too far ahead, but can you just talk about, like, you're a woman, you're a mother, you know how it is. How do you now look now, because I know there were some things that happened in between, but how do you now, like, look at or view your mom back then?
Um, actually looking back at my age that
Mhm.
I am now, looking back at that situation, it's 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 almost like a miracle.
Mm.
It's almost like, man, you survived all of that.
Mhm.
And I wish that she could see
Mhm.
that she survived all of that.
Yeah.
Um, a very large part of me feels that she has not survived. She has not healed from
Mhm.
her trauma. Yes, she made it out on, out on the other
Mhm.
side. And she's alive and well, but emotionally
Right.
she's not well.
Right.
Her mental health is not well. um and when in hindsight, when I look back on it, I'm like, man, we
Yeah.
because again, I'm along with her for every
Right.
experience. And it's like, man, we survived that, like, but God, it
Right.
almost, you want to break out in a praise break,
Yeah.
because that was nothing but God. She didn't do that on her own free will.
Right.
And I just pray that one day she sees that and
Mhm.
she's able to rejoice of overcoming those circumstances.
Yeah, that's good. You mentioned that your mother is a miracle. So we're gonna kind of rewind back. You mentioned that your mom is a miracle, but yesterday you told me that you are also a miracle. And so that's why the title for tonight, the show topic, No Weapon Against Me Will Prosper, like, it sticks to you because before you even, like, fully step foot into this world, you told me that the enemy was trying to take you out before you even, like, really made it. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, so, my mom was a teenage mom. She did not receive any type of prenatal care with me. She, I was a secret. right? Until like there's always that elder aunt in the family who's just like,
Yeah.
something not right with you. Like, she carried really small, and so, wore like bigger clothes to kind of, hide the weight that she was picking up. So, but one of my grandfather's sister, my aunt Mandy, she told my mom, she said, "Girl, you're pregnant."
Mm.
And by this time, she's like 6.5 months
Yeah.
pregnant. And she ended up going into labor. I was born prematurely at 7 months.
Okay.
And the doctor who delivered me at this time said, "This baby not gonna live.
Mm.
This baby is not gonna live." And if he was alive today,
Yeah.
and ironically, he actually delivered two of my children.
Okay.
So, and
Yeah.
I reminded him, like, I'm giving birth now,
Right. Right.
So, just from the day that God created me, he
Yeah.
knew what I was going to be able to go through and what I was going to be able to handle before I even had an idea
Right.
of what my life was going to turn out like. Um, statistically, I should be a drug addict. I should be, a product of the system, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, and just because of those of again, the trauma that I started to experience
Mhm.
very early on, it affected some of the relationship choices that I made. I too
Hold on.
ended
Wait.
up
Wait.
getting, oh,
One
I'm
second.
sorry, I'm going too fast.
We don't want to go too far. We don't want to go too far because we want to make
Okay, okay,
sure. Want to make sure that we give your testimony the proper. We need to.
okay.
Yeah. So, um, how long did you hold on to the secret of your abuse before you finally was able to tell someone or get it out?
Well, I told my mom when it occurred,
Okay.
um, but it was, it's again because we were in a situation where we were in a place where, excuse me, where we didn't have any family, we didn't have any friends, so we were relying on this particular to have somewhere to live. So I told my mom early on, and it was more so that I was hushed. Like I said earlier, I have a physical scar from this, and that was also minimized and treated internally. Um, so I never told anyone else outside of my mom. I was in my 30s.
Hmm.
I was in my 30s, and was so funny. I told I told at that time, who was then my then boyfriend, but he's now my husband. I told him, and I
Hmm.
don't even know what made me feel comfortable enough at that time to tell him. So and then I just felt like, okay, it's time to start having conversations about it with my mom. I would, periodically bring it up to her, and it was just like always brushed off. But then it was just like, no, but for real,
Yeah.
we need to talk about it. We need to address it. I need you to understand
Right.
how I felt. So, so what, over 20 years?
Wow.
Over 20 years carrying that weight.
Wow. Um, well, first, let me read this comment. Letitia Holloman says, "Sis, you're the epitome. You're the epitome of overcoming your trauma. Even through your trauma, you're so loving, caring, and inspiring. You have a powerful testimony." I think your
Thank you,
daughter
sis.
also. She, my mom, proud of you. so, so yeah, I wanted to read those before they start scrolling up, and I can't see them anymore. Um, not bashing your mom or anything like that, because we know that had she known better, she would have did better. And so
Absolutely.
we have to give ourselves grace for those times that we didn't know better, and our, you know, and our actions show, so we have to give ourselves grace for that. um but on your side, as the abused, when you told your mom and it was kind of like hushed, minimized, how did that make you feel? And what did, okay, so this is a two-parter. How did it make you feel? And what did that silence teach you going forward?
It crushed me because your mom, like when you think of mother, you think of nurturer. You think of the she is like your superhero. So I instantly felt distrust for her.
Mm,
I instantly did not feel safe
mm,
with her. And over the course of time, it made me build up a lot of resentment
mm.
towards her. Um, Even though, she did do some great things for
Yeah,
me
right.
throughout, throughout the years, but I still in the back of my mind had I didn't feel good about her. Now, and I loved her, but
Yeah,
I just didn't feel safe
I understand.
with
Hmm.
my mom.
Hmm.
And it was weird because you're supposed to feel safe
Right,
with both your parents. You're supposed to
right.
feel safe. And that taught me that when I become a mom,
Yeah,
like I'm my children's safe space. They'll be able to be like, my mom is my superhero.
right, right.
So, and not resent me, and or being at the age that, like we talked about last night, being at this age,
Right.
bringing things up like this. And um I we kind of have like an open door policy here. Talk to us, even if it feels weird.
Mm,
um like let us help you figure it out. I might cringe at some things. Like sometimes some of the things my kids tell me, I'm like, oh, I ain't really,
right,
like holding my ears,
right.
but I appreciate that they trust me enough to come to me and have those type of conversations, that may be uncomfortable for both of us. Um, it taught me to just I think in hindsight, I think it kind of, like what I experienced, it kind of is a gift and a curse because I'm
Yeah.
a little bit overbearing.
Mm,
And, my kids, they're young adults. And it's like, I'm still like, want to be in their business. Like, what you doing? Who you with?
right.
Who said that? Like, I want to know. Um, and sometimes it can get me in a little bit of trouble, but I secretly wish somebody would have did that with me.
For you. Mm.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay. Um, did the exposure to sex at such an early age change how you viewed sexual intercourse as an adult? Did it have an impact on that at all?
I think so. I think it played a part in um just like figuring out what I liked. Which is not like I experimented or anything, but my abuser was a woman.
Yeah.
um so that's not
Right.
what I like.
Right.
But if you, in hindsight, if you kind of think about it, it's like, was that what I was supposed to like?
Right.
So it did cause some confusion. I have never been with a woman that's not what I like, but it was definitely weird. Um but I think as I got older, I was um curious about,
Yeah.
does sex hurt?
Right.
Is it supposed, like, am I supposed to feel violated,
Right.
or is it um is it love? And I think,
Mm,
um you know as I like I said, as I got older, that it kind of got confused.
mm,
And then, some of the partners is just like, oh, this this is a different hurt. It's not
right. Right.
physical, it's more emotional hurt. And then sometimes, even if I didn't want to do it, I felt like, don't violate me, so, or don't make me feel pressured to
Right.
have.
Right. Right. And I'm glad you brought up the confusion aspect because your body will respond to stimulation,
Mhm.
whether it's your sexual preference or it's flesh. it, it's
Right.
it's not tied into emotions or anything like that. It's just flesh. And so oftentimes when children are molested, this confusion comes into play because, oh, like my body responded, or I felt a certain way. Is this what I like? Or even beyond that, as an
Hmm.
adult, you kind of like, I know that time is still linked in your head. So now you're with someone you love, and it's kind of like it's muddled.
Right. Absolutely.
It's all muddled. Um so abuse, it just doesn't, it doesn't stop right there. It's not clean cut. This is something that it stays with you, and it's also something that, like, you have to process. It's a mental, emotional, physical thing. um,
Absolutely.
so let's see. You um talked about your experience with your mom and her addiction, and we talked last night that you were only child for about 11 years. So through a lot of that, you were basically by yourself, and you had to learn how to, basically the only person that you could rely on and depend on was yourself. um how did that childhood trauma translate in your adulthood?
Um, it was hard trusting people. It was very hard trusting people, and also having a mentality of, I can do it by myself. Um, um, like, I've been alone. I've been having to, figure things out for a very long time. So it's just like, in relationships, it's like, okay, they come and go. Friends, they come and go. Like, I've been figuring this thing out. I've been, just navigating through life. I've been surviving and just making it happen. Um, well before I should have been. I mean, I was letting myself in the house from school at like 7 years old, like with the house key. Like, I had responsibility very, very young. So it's kind of like, it makes you hard. It makes you guarded. It makes you just like nonchalant about anything. Like, okay, whatever, and that's not the attitude that you want to have, especially, when you're trying to build friendships and relationships, because ultimately that pushes people away. um it's just the saying, like, I want to be a soft girl. I do. I don't want to
Yeah.
be
Strong.
surviving, right, having like a,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out mentality all the time. And I'm still working on that because that is something that, again, has been with me for so long that it's just like second nature.
Yeah. In the comments, so someone said that that having an open door policy should actually be a norm in the Black family. This was back when you were talking about how you're more open with your kids now. Someone else said nothing happens by mistake. I was meant to be here at this very moment listening to your every word. And in reference to abuse, it doesn't go away. There are so many cause and effect aspects here. Um, Last night, when we talked, um, I brought up this um, I was listening to Pastor Darius McClure talk, and he said something very impactful, and it kind of fits here. Well, it does fit here because of that childhood trauma. Like, you took on this hardened exterior, independence, and if we could put it out there, sometimes independence is actually a trauma response, because
Yes. Hmm.
no one showed up before and I only had me to rely on. So going forward, I got me.
Right.
And
Right.
everything else. So he said, and I had to write it down because I didn't want to mess it up. But he said, he spoke about spiritual infections. And basically, what he said is that we focus more on the cut, and we focus more on what we can see, which is the cut. And we don't focus at all on what we can't see, which is the infection due to the cut. And what he says happens is that we allow the pain to linger so long that it turns into a personality.
Mhm.
So that childhood trauma of abandonment, rejection, all of that, it then turns into, I'm independent. I'm a strong
Mhm.
Black woman. We talked about people pleasing, being a people pleaser. Um, that we, will say, oh, I'm just a team player. Like, we talked about that. We um begin to embrace dysfunction as part of, like, our person, like, this is who I am. And so
Right.
what happens is that when your soul is sick, it shows up as dysfunction, but we aren't really equipped to deal with that, dysfunction. Both of us, we talked about being in therapy, and we know that, like, in the African American community, like, therapy is kind of like a new thing. It's been here forever. But
Mm.
it's kind of like a new thing for us. Like, people are now looking at therapy like, okay, it's not so bad. So when you don't have those, like, outside outlets to help you process your dysfunction, you'll label it and then you'll take it on as a personality trait. You're being
Right.
something that you were never purposed to be. Um, and so when we talk about no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and last night I said it. I said the enemy is prophetic, because he knew where you were going to be before you had even stepped out, and he was trying to shut it down.
Mhm.
When you were born, 6 years old, you go through this trauma. Then as you're growing up, you're, dealing with your mom and, and her struggles. Um, we often say that people are victims. If you aren't careful, you can be a victim of your environment. So that thing that you pray, God, please deliver me out of, even though it may be dysfunctional, because of its familiarity, we run back to it.
Right.
You did this happen to you? Did you run to something that you used to pray, God, keep me away from it, or take me out of this situation?
Um, I would say I don't think I don't think I did. Well, let me say this. So, I'm a project kid, right? I grew up in the projects. And my mom was an addict. That was kind of the thing
Yeah.
for a period of time for a lot of people, and not just for me. I knew that what I was experiencing was not normal, and I knew that I wanted something different. But because of I didn't know what normal was or what healthy was, so to say. So I did put myself in toxic situations. And sometimes some situations I was in for too long. But in my mind I'm like, this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. I got to get out, I have to find a way out. um like, life is greater on the other side. I just know it is. Like, God did not create us to live in these type of situations. I know this for fact because it's not in the Bible. Like, I know
Right.
we like, greater is on the other side as long as we stay the course. So I can say along the way I did entertain some situations that were extremely toxic, that fed the trauma, the already existing trauma, and it just added on.
Right.
So it was as if I was just compiling
Right.
um a different form of trauma onto it. And then finally, I mean, the I'm telling you, first, if people don't believe God, they're crazy.
Mm.
It was nothing. God picked me up literally and said it's time to move.
Mm.
And I heard it very clear.
Mm.
And I did it
Mm.
with no plan, no, like, I'm back doing it by myself. A mom of four young children,
Mm.
just like, I'm gonna figure it out. Like,
Right.
it's I'm gonna figure it out. Like, I'm gonna be okay. And I'm glad I was obedient to that call, because had I not, I wouldn't be able to tell you about it. I know for a fact that I would have never made it out.
Right. Right. Um, and so I don't want to skate over that because not only
Mhm.
are you a sexual abuse survivor, but you're also a domestic violence survivor.
Correct. Mhm.
And when you heard God tell you it's time to move, what was happening? What was going on in your life at that particular time?
Um, so at that time, by this time, in a relationship
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
Lord knows, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you to this day, um, why, but I know why, because it was supposed to happen. Um, and the relationship was not healthy at all. It was, abuse, physical abuse, that my children, they witnessed. I know, my older two children probably have more memory than my younger two children. And it was it was like, girl, you saw this happening to your mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you go through the same thing? And um during during this time, my kid's father, he experienced a health scare. Well, not a scare, uh something very serious with his health. And while he was going through that, his family came to help him. um it was God told me to move, that it wasn't my job to help him recover.
Mm.
And I did.
Mm.
And I did. Of course, it wasn't received well, you know, um, but only I knew what I was going through in that house, with this man. And like I said, I did it without a plan. I took me and my four children in a two-bedroom apartment.
Mm.
Um, and we stayed there for maybe 3 years, and then I was able to finally upgrade where I could put my two girls in one room and my two boys in one room. And I was working full time. I did receive, like, assistance. I'm not gonna say that I didn't, because
Yeah.
I did. And that was helpful, especially having four kids in daycare. That daycare assistance definitely helped me out tremendously. um and I was working two jobs at one point, kind of just leaving one job, picking the kids up, making sure they ate, and went to another job to try to work overnight just to make it make sense. And I bust my tail to just make sure my kids were good, that they were fed, that they were
Yeah.
clothed. Um, and it was scary, to be honest, because ideally, you like, man, you want to be, a happy family, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
And but I wasn't, and it was like, either I move or my kids will be without a mom eventually.
Mm. Um, I want to take a pause for the cause, because I feel like this time of a public service announcement, because there may be someone watching now or who's going to watch this replay who they're in a domestic violence situation, and God told you to move. So if you don't mind, um,
Mhm.
speaking to that woman or man who's in a situation that God told you to move out of.
Listen to yourself.
Mhm.
You will have friends, you will lose friends, you will have family, you will lose family. Love does not hurt.
Mm.
It can be confusing sometimes,
Yeah.
but it does not hurt.
Mhm.
If you don't have a plan,
Mhm.
that's okay.
Mhm.
You trust God. God takes us through, He knows what's going to happen
Yeah.
before we even know. You just have to listen to Him.
Mhm.
Because just speaking for me, had I not, and not outsiders, because hey, my friends are telling me, girl, stay. My
Mm.
family's telling me, girl, stay. But I'm looking at my kids. I'm raising two boys. I'm
Mm.
raising two girls. It's okay to leave. It's okay to be a single parent. It's okay. And abuse isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental abuse, it is sexual abuse. That man can be your partner and you can still be sexually abused,
Mhm.
because no is no. You
Mm.
have to love yourself more than the situation, more than painting a picture of what you think a
Mm.
family should look like. Your family is what you build. I became okay with being a mom of four kids, a single mom of four kids. I was good because I was safe, and
Yeah.
I was able to show my kids that
Mhm.
I wasn't weak. You're
Yeah.
only weak if you give in.
Right.
And now there's so many different, like, resources and helplines, that you can reach out to that will help you,
Yeah.
escape. Um, if you have children, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your children. Do it for your sons. Do it for your daughters. Do it for you. Do because you owe it to yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like these comments, they're going so fast, and I'm trying. Um, but someone said that abuse isn't just physical. Abuse can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be financial. We know that a lot of times women stay because they can't afford to leave. Um, that maybe he's or she, excuse me, is in charge of the finances. You can't get the car, or emotional abuse. Like, I know my experience, even though physically I was removed from my ex-husband, that mental abuse did a number on me. Like, he still had me locked in, and we weren't even, together anymore. So it's different phases of abuse. Someone says, Lord Jesus, tell it, baby. um, um, and someone else said, I can't see it because it moved up too fast, but someone else said that, basically a lot of people are afraid to talk. And so she's glad that she's here and witnessing you. Like, people in the comments, they are supporting you, rooting you on, because like what you're doing, someone said that you're moving mountains. As Yeah, someone said that you are moving mountains as you're giving your testimony. So I just felt in my spirit, because watching, that God
Mm,
is saying it's time to move.
yeah,
You are on the other side of that command. You are a representation of what happens when you're obedient and you listen to God.
yes,
It wasn't easy, but he kept you through the process. So I'm glad we kind of just paused for the cause. Um Sometimes
yeah. That was definitely needed. Definitely needed.
you gotta move with the spirit. And so let's see. So and look, guys, we're going to do a part two, because it was so much we couldn't fit it all. We couldn't. So it's okay. I just need y'all to come back when we have Kenyona back on. But um, your mom sobered up. She
Hmm.
and I want to put that out. I want to put that out there, that your mom got clean. She fought that demon. She got her life back on track. She remarried, had more children, your brothers, your younger siblings. Um, but we talked about last night how you didn't feel like you fit in this new family. Do you mind talking
Right.
about that?
Yeah, sure. So again, I am the oldest. I'm the oldest child. I am also the only girl. It is an 11-year age difference between my brother after me. I have a set of twin brothers, and I have a brother, a younger, my baby brother. He's actually the same age as my son. Um, it's real weird, right? Um, but yes, so my mom, she like you said, she did overcome the battle with the drug addiction, and she, she got clean. And she met my brother after me. He's how old am I? He's 30. I had to do the math. But yeah, he's 31. And so he when she met his dad, she cleaned up. She and she did it cold turkey.
Mhm.
Excuse me. She just stopped. And and she was really good. She was doing like the mom things. And it was weird for me, because here I am, I'm 11 years old, and it's like, who is this person? I never seen you before. I never met you before. And it was a little weird. Um, and she was with my brother's dad for a few years, and then they broke up. And she met my twin brother's dad, and then they got married. And then I still was like feeling like an outsider, because again, I still don't know this person. I don't know this version. I know, of course, I know she's my mom. She looks the same, and you know, it was weird. So, um, kind of, trying to enforce rules and things like that. It's just like, I'm not listening to you, lady. I've been, taking care of myself for a long time. I've been making, my own decisions for a long time. And it caused me to make some choices that wasn't ideal, of course. Um, because it was almost like she started a new life, and I was just part of her old life. And it was, you know, and she didn't necessarily like treat me
Right.
bad, but it was more so like I'm a part of the former her.
Mm.
So it's almost like I want to be close, but I don't want to be close. I have to be close because I gave birth to you. So it was very awkward. It did in fact put a strain on our relationship. Even now,
Right.
it has like a little strain on our relationship. And I understand why. And it took me a long time to come to that understanding and to be okay with that. But it's hurtful. It's every girl wants a good relationship with their mom.
Right. Right. Because we talked about we talked about how it seemed like your mother had basically like healed and she moved on, with this new life. However, because there really wasn't an acknowledgement of what had transpired in the past, it was kind of like you were left with that pain, that burden of the past. And that like played a part in you feeling like I don't really belong here, in the present.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like I was a reminder of her hurt, in which I think she just felt like, oh, it's back there. It didn't exist. Um and a part of that is because she hasn't acknowledged that she's her teen. Um and healed from, because again, I didn't experience trauma alone. She experienced some things as well that she hasn't acknowledged within herself.
Yeah.
And so she can't acknowledge my hurt if she hasn't acknowledged her own hurt. And that took me a while to realize that, because I wanted my mom to acknowledge my hurt for years, for many, many years. And just to, like, you know what, Key, I understand you're hurting, and I'm sorry. It took my mom, I want to say, I maybe like 35, 36, for her to finally just like the light bulb to go off. And she apologized. It was a general apology,
Yeah.
but she apologized. And I think a part of her still kind of feels that I'm upset. Well, all along, I really just wanted her to acknowledge and to apologize, and not minimize how I felt, or how I was feeling, or kind of downplay
Right.
the scenarios, because the scenarios really in real life happen.
Yeah.
um it happened to me, so I need you to acknowledge that, and just empathize with me for a moment. Um, and I think part of, her stubbornness in doing that is because she hasn't dealt with her own trauma.
That's good. And deep. So guys, we're about at our hour. But I told you that there is so much more to the story because Kenyana is actually a life coach. She has a book. So I'm gonna have her back on because there's more. She's an onion. It's like you keep peeling, pulling.
Multi-layered, I'm telling
Multi
you.
Heard. And so I want to have you back on because there's more to the story, but I also want to talk about there's a song that says there will be glory after this. So
My God.
I like to have you on to talk about that glory. Um,
Yes.
on that other side. And there was a young lady, I think her name was Rashonda, and I might, ooh, forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong. The names are flashing so fast. But sis, I just want to let you know this is a circle of peace. We're family over here. Nobody is alone. We got you. No man or woman is left behind. We're healing together. So please
Yeah.
know we're praying for you. Um, and Kenyana, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And to any, just to kind of
Mm,
piggyback on, teacher, you are not alone. You do not have to live with those emotions alone. Um, we are here to help you go through whatever you are going through. We both have safe spaces. Please feel free to reach out to either one of us. Even if you don't want to talk about what you're going through and you maybe want to meet up for a hug or something,
yeah,
um, we we are here. I'm big on that. Like, throughout my healing journey, I've been like super like emotional and wanting to just hug and give people love because it's something that I lacked early on. So I know that I'm not alone in those experiences. Neither is anyone that's watching. So, like Tisha said, we are family. Um, we love you. This too shall pass. Whatever you are experiencing, um, don't fight it alone. You got help.
can you please give your social media handles if someone wants to get in contact with you? How can they do that?
Yes, yes. So I am on Facebook. I am on Facebook, Kenyona PJ Nash. So Kenyona space P space J, then Nash Nash. Also on Instagram, I am Kenyona P. I also have my Facebook group for my life coaching workshops and inspiration, which is Painfully Purposeful on Facebook. Um, if you want to DM me, I'll give you my personal cell phone number, whatever. You are not alone. Don't suffer in silence. You too, your story can save just one person.
Amen to that. So again, thank you everyone for stepping into the circle of peace. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to tune in tonight, and I'm thankful for that. If you have a story to tell, a testimony, listen, I want to hear it, but most of all, there's people out there who need to hear your story and they need to see you. So please reach out to me. My email is moving_mountains_ministries at yahoo.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Letitia Watson, inbox me. We need to hear from you. Stay tuned. We have some ads from our sponsors. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Have a good night, everyone. Love you.